Today we're going to do a rare product review. I got a $20 ball head off eBay from some Chinese company called Manbily, I don't know how to say it. And so I'm going to compare it to the closest Manfrotto equivalent that I've got. I'm not a big ball head user. Typically I'll use a three-way pan head or something sturdier because I use big cameras. But when it comes to my video work, I'm using smaller digital cameras, and a ball head is useful for that. And for those of you that use 35mm, even some medium format, ball heads are very useful. Now these are small ball heads. They're not the larger type. And for my video work, I tend to use the Manfrotto equivalent. So this is it right here. It's the 490 that I got from B&H. Now these things are $50. They're pretty good. I like them. They're very secure. But this is $20. So 2 of these for 100, 5 of these for 100. For my video work, this is what I've been considering since I need more than one. So I wanted to kind of compare it side by side and see how it performs with a few different sized cameras. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, the reason I even looked at this in the first place wasn't just price. It was the camera plate that it takes. This uses the Manfrotto RC2, which is a very common quick release head. And I know Arca Swiss is very popular out there, but most of my cameras have the RC2 on there, and the tripod has as well. So I looked for something that would take the equivalent, and this is what I found on eBay. So I thought I'd go ahead, take a risk for $20 and see how it turned out. So let's put this onto a monopod, and we're going to try 3 different size cameras: a small DSLR style, a Beefy or 35mm with a heavy lens, and then we're going to try the RB67 for a heavier medium format and just see if either of these can hold it up. Alright, so let's start with the Manfrotto. So I've got a small DSLR. It's an APS-C sized. It's the Sony A57, which is my old video camera that I started this channel with. Let's put that on there. So first off, I can tell you one big difference between the two is the quick release. This uses a newer style. Let me take this off and show you. So this uses a newer style where instead of opening and then locking in place, it's got this finger tab that you have to pull down, and then it'll let you open it, but it won't stay there. I find that very inconvenient compared to the older style, which this thing has right here. So this is actually modeled after the previous version of that particular head, and that is, it's got a little button that when the plate hits it, it closes. So it'll stay closed. It's got a little locking pin that you move out of the way to open it, but once it's open, it stays open. So that makes it nice to just put the camera on, it'll auto lock, you just snug it up and go. This doesn't have that convenience. I actually find this far less convenient because you have to use 2 hands. I can't just put the camera on while this is in the unlocked position. That's annoying. I don't necessarily find it any more or less secure, just annoying. So let's put that on. All right. Now, as far as the plates go, both of these came with a plate. The one I'm using is an actual Manfrotto brand. It's one of the aluminum ones. The newer heads, this particular model, comes with a plastic plate, whereas the Chinese knockoff still comes with a metal plate. Is it any good? It seems to be, but all of these are on the aluminum type. Okay, so let's talk about this. So it's on there. I've got it locked down. Of course, we can loosen it and get whatever tension we want, so it'll stay where we want. I I can loosen it more and it'll just flop around, but once I tighten it, okay, that seems to be staying pretty good. What about if it's on my shoulder and I'm hiking around? Well, that seems to be staying pretty good with a lighter camera. Okay, let's try the same thing with a heavier 35mm DSLR, or a 35mm camera with a heavier lens. So let's put this aside and try that. Okay, so here we have a Minolta A9. It's a pretty beefy 35mm. I've got the Sony 24-70G lens, so it's a pretty hefty combo. I am actually using the Manbily plate on here, and it's got a nice big D-ring. I've gotten some Chinese knockoffs before that had a small ring, and I didn't like those, but this one seems pretty solid. Okay, so let's put that on here. Again, two-handed operation. Sometimes feels like a three-handed operation. And can we loosen it enough so it would stay, but allow movement? Might already be getting to its limit here. Oops. So mostly okay. But once we get a little front heavy, it does slip on us. Can I get it where it stays? Let's turn it actually. Here. Okay, so that's pretty much locked. Take a little tension off, because I know if we do it like this, it'll stay. But can we lean it forward and it stay? Ooh, Manfrotto. Now, of course, we can lock it down. I mean, we can crank it and it'll stay wherever we want it. That's no big deal. I'm just trying to see, can we loosen it to a point where it'll stay on its own from friction, but then we can move it if we need to. And it seems like there is a point where we can do it. It's a little firm, and that's because this is so front heavy. All right, let's put it back to vertical. Okay. Yep, that's pretty vertical. Okay, now we're going to have it the over-the-shoulder test here, bouncing along as we hike. Seems pretty good. If we knock it a few times, it's going to travel. No, that's pretty good. Okay, so this does lock down pretty tight with that weight of a camera. So let's take this off and let's try our RB67. So that, I think we might be pushing the weight, but let's try it out and see. RB67, and it's kind of comically large for such a small tripod head. That's okay, I really just want to see how the weight would do. I don't typically use a head this small for a camera this size, but since it says it can do about 8 pounds, we're gonna test that out. So first off, is there a point where we can lock this that it will stay, give us some movement, but stay solid? Whoop, then we lose that. A little bit tighter. Oh, still loses it. A little bit tighter. Okay. Yeah. That stays, but it's firmly locked. So I would say this pushes the weight too high for us to have a point of friction where we can hold the camera static but still move it without loosening anything. Side to side we can do that, back we can do it, but forward there's just too much weight on the front. So it seems to stay pretty good when it's locked. I mean, it's not moving anywhere. All right, so let's try our bounce test here. Oh, that moved it. Okay. Let's put it back. Let's crank it down a little bit tighter. Oh, it's moving. All right, so too heavy for the Manfrotto to hold on to. It looks like it'll work for a tripod once it's locked down, but if you're going to walk around with it on your shoulder, it's probably going to slip. As far as the lock itself goes, I mean, it's pretty heavy duty. I'm not thinking that it's going to snap off at any point. But quite frankly, that's beyond the scope of what this video can do, unless we're just going to try to break it. And I don't want to break it. All right, so let's put this aside and we'll try the other head with the same 3 cameras. Okay, here we've put the other head onto the monopod stick. And let me get it in the center here. So this uses, like I said, the older style where it's locked and I can just put it in there and then snug it down, which I have to do even with the Manfrotto style that I have that does this. Okay, so we're in. First off, can we get a point of tension where we can move it? So it certainly moves. Okay, gonna have to be a little more snug than that. Here, I'm left-handed, hold on. Okay. All right, seems to be staying. Okay, so it stays there. So let's lock it down. Are we gonna get, oh, we got some bounce there. Just lock down tighter. Okay, well, locked down, it doesn't seem to move any, so that's good. I believe this has the same rating, about 8 pounds, as the Manfrotto. Okay, so a light camera, it works. Let's try a little bit heavier camera. Okay, again, can we get a point of tension where I can still move it and stay there? Okay, it seems to. Okay, so we can get that. So let's lock it down. Ooh, ooh, that's not good. Let's see if a tighter lock will do it. Maybe we didn't have it locked all the way. Oh. So that does slip with a heavier camera if I were carrying it on my shoulder and hiking a trail. So a little bit weaker. So that doesn't bode well for the medium format. So I doubt we're going to get a point of tension where I can hold this. Yeah, I'm not going to have that. Let it lock it down. Ooh, nope. Nope. So, probably not a good medium format head, which is not meant to be anyway, but I thought, why not just put it to its test? So, here we have it. I think for my video camera, this is going to work just fine. I'm not moving it anywhere. It's just going to stay locked to a shelf in my darkroom for me to move the camera around. But if I were going to use this in the field, it's going to be relegated to a light camera, like my video camera, which is actually smaller than the video camera I just showed you a moment ago, because I switched to the Sony a6400, and it's a very small, light, mirrorless camera. But for a anything heavier, even a 35mm, a big beefy one with a big lens, this may not work. For $20, it's pretty good. But there is a caveat, and I'm going to be honest about this because I'm not being sponsored by this company. I just bought it on my own. When I first got it, I couldn't get it to lock down at all. I would crank it down as hard as I could and it still just moved around. And that's mostly comes down to workmanship, which for a $20 one you wouldn't expect to be great. But what I found when I unscrewed the lock, that what they used is kind of this, I don't know if you can see it, it's got this cone shape on the end. And there is a plate inside that hole that has an angle to the part that mates with this. So as this moves in, it pushes the plate up to lock against the ball. What I noticed was that the point of this screw was touching the center column and tightening against that before it could push the plate all the way up. So I used a file and just filed the point down, so now it's a little flatter, so it can actually go in and lock. And I might even be able to do more and get a tighter grip. And it might even be just as good as the Manfrotto then. Now you might be thinking you shouldn't have to modify the ball head to make it work. And you're right, you shouldn't have to. And if I were a serious ball head user, then I would say this is not worth the money, even at $20. But since this is going to be in a static place, and I have to get several of them over the course of time for different camera locations as I make videos for you, $20 is too good of a deal to pass up. So unscrewing that and filing it and putting it back for, a minute of my time is not too big of a price for me to make this a very functional ball head at the savings that I'm getting. So it's up to you to decide if it's good enough for you. If you are a serious ball head user out in the field, you probably don't want to risk this failing on you. Go and spend the extra money and get a good one. But if you need something inexpensive and easy to use, this is not a bad deal. Like I said, I can get 5 of these for the same price as 2 of these. So would I recommend it? With qualifications, yes. Not just to anybody for every reason. So for me, it's going to work great, but my function and my use may not be yours. So you have to decide if it's for you. But I don't mind doing the extra work to make this more usable because it's so much less expensive. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you need a good ball head, I'll put a link to this down in the description. So if you want to get some, you can. They're going for $20 to $25 each, and I don't find that too bad of a deal. All right, so we will see you next time. Until then, thanks for watching.